G'day guys, Seeney here. Welcome to another episode on the Australian Wealth channel. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about some advice that first home buyers really need to hear. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps to get these videos out to more people. Now, I wanted to put some perspective in here because this is something that I've actually gone through and I've done it basically without any real financial help either. So I do have a pretty good perspective on what it's like to be a first home buyer. I now, for a bit of background, I now own 4 properties myself at the age of 30. And once upon a time, I had no real estate. So that's my backstory. So what I've noticed online is you see some finance creators and they have such a terrible mindset. They're always just complaining about how expensive the housing market is. And it's all the boomers' fault. It's the boomers. It's not just the boomers' fault. There's plenty more things at play, but you know, prices have gone up significantly because of the tax benefits that revolve around real estate in Australia. The government wants people to build and buy real estate. It's great revenue for them. So the government has incentivized people to purchase in this asset class way more than other asset classes like stocks or anything like that. So obviously, people are going to flock towards real estate. Now, what I'm saying is not that it's not harder. It is absolutely harder to buy a home today than it was 30 years ago. It was definitely easier for the boomer generation. That is clearly obvious. But would you rather be living today or be living 30, 40 years ago? I know I'd certainly pick today. Our quality of life is far superior to what our parents and their parents had. So obviously we have different struggles. And one of those struggles is expensive real estate. Oh God, what a problem to have. But a lot of these creators end up having a real negative mindset and blaming things that are outside of the control of themselves. And it's really terrible. And there's so many reasons why it is terrible, but it really feeds into this victim mindset. And if you start with a victim mindset, you have absolutely no chance at all of succeeding. And it's something that it drives me nuts. But there is always a way to do things. And you know, that's something that I'm continuing to go through even now as I'm looking into commercial real estate. Even more expensive. But it doesn't matter because I am going to find a way. And you'll see, within a few years, I'll probably have a commercial property somehow. So let's talk about what first home buyers can actually do. So no doubt if you live in Sydney and even Brisbane now and Melbourne, prices can be quite expensive. Now, there's a few things that are really important. Number one, you probably need to lower your expectations. You probably can't start with your dream house. It's really that simple. There's a lot of competition and a lot of people want to get houses. So you're probably going to have to lower your standards a little bit, and that way over time, as you build equity, you can grow into your dream house. So maybe you start with an apartment. Maybe you start with an apartment in an area that's less desirable, which over time will become more desirable. So that's the first thing. You're probably not going to be able to start with your dream home. Now, number two, if you are kind of locked out of Sydney completely, then what you can do is you can look regionally. And you might think, well, Jay, I don't want to live in the regions. I want to live in Sydney because that's where I work. Absolutely, totally understand that. I also love Sydney and I also live here in a property. So the thing is, you might need to invest regionally. So of course, we have a pretty good advantage if you do live here in Sydney. Our wages are a bit higher than basically everywhere else in the country, unless you're in mining in WA. So because our wages are a bit higher, property prices around the rest of the country, much easier for us if you live in Sydney. So you might need to look at investing regionally, getting yourself on the property ladder in another place. So for us, when we started investing, we obviously bought our family home first, which we were fortunate enough to do because our income was high enough. But if this is not the case for you, then the best way to start is to look at somewhere a bit more regional, maybe another capital city. So for example, all our investments, we don't own any investment properties in New South Wales. None at all. Our investment properties are up in Queensland and also in Adelaide. So if you're looking at a house 40 minutes from the city, then in Sydney, you're looking at around 1.2 million, maybe more. So obviously very expensive. If you do that somewhere else, say Brisbane, you're probably looking at around $800,000. If you're looking in Adelaide, you're probably looking around $400,000 to $500,000. So these price brackets are obviously going to be a lot more attractive for someone that doesn't have a huge borrowing power. So this is basically how you start. Getting on the property ladder, in 10, 20, 30 years, the value of those properties is very likely to go up if you have bought well. Okay, so it's very important when you are investing, you need to look at areas that have population growth. People are moving to them. What are the job prospects going forward? What are the amenities nearby? There's all of these different things you need to look at if you are looking at an investment property. So they have all these different price points all around Australia. So just don't think just because you can't get into Sydney and you can't buy a home that you can't look elsewhere. The best thing to do is speak to a mortgage broker. See what your borrowing power is. You know, it might be 300,000, might be 500,000, might be 800,000. And that way you can kind of calibrate and purchase an investment property. It's cash flow positive. I think that's incredibly important. And that way you can start to get on the property ladder. It'll be paying down the debt. And that way you might be able to get a leg in to getting a home where you live in a place like Sydney. So I know, for example, I want to give a big shout out to Ray Corcoran, who's also another YouTube guy here. Obviously very successful, runs a great business. But when he first started, he didn't buy his family home in Sydney. It's only very recently that he's picked that up. He had to buy investment properties first. So he's got a few and he's done that around the place, started in Bendigo in regional Victoria, bought a few more, and obviously that's grown over time. And then you can use that equity or money from the sale. If you sell it or you do a cash out refinance, you can then use that money to buy something in Sydney. So it's really that simple. There's a lot of ways to make excuses, but there's only one way to make it happen, and that's obviously to do the work. So I hope these tips were really valuable for you. Maybe it gives you a little bit of a different way of thinking about how to actually get into the housing market. There's no right way. Obviously myself and Ray, we've done things the opposite way. I bought our family home in Sydney first. I live in a little bit more affordable area than Ray. He's in like the 2 million plus category. Thankfully ours is around that 1.25. So a little bit different area, and depending on where you want to live, these goals might need to change. So if you're not interested in living in, say, southwest Sydney, you don't want to be part of, like, say, Penrith or Campbelltown or whatever it is, and you want to live on the North Shore, then you might need to do that rent investing thing first. However, if you're looking at a lower price bracket, then obviously you might be able to just go straight to the family home if that's something you want to do. But the important thing is just to get started. Take the first step. So what is that first step? Speak to a mortgage broker. Just see what your borrowing power is, and that way you can start to look around what price is going to work for you. Obviously, once you've saved a deposit as well. So that can be a 10% deposit. Say you're looking at a $400,000 property, then you obviously want about 50 grand saved up for that, because you've got not only the 10% down, but also stamp duty and other costs. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you found this video valuable. There's a lot of advice out there, and also I don't even think it's advice. It's just people whinging about how expensive it is. And no doubt, it's a little bit trickier, but the way forward is just to start. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure you like and subscribe. My name is Seeney. I own 4 properties, have a net worth of 1.3 million. Did that in the space of 5 years. So I hope you guys find that valuable. Subscribe. My name's Jay. We'll see you later.